Real-world computer programming for kids of all ages. Step 44, dissecting code and programmatically opening the browser. We ran out of space in the last step to finish examining the code to display the contents of the data grid view control on the bottom half of the form, along with the image and the code that opens a browser window with a book about the state when the image is clicked. So we will take up with that here and now. Before we get into the meatier code, though, let's take a quick look at a little bit of code that I added so that the data grid view controls click method would pseudo fire without the user actually clicking it when the app starts. I added this because I didn't want the controls at the bottom half of the form to be empty, except for the date time picker displaying the current date, especially when the first row is highlighted when the app starts, which could lead to confusion in the user's mind. Why is there no data populated below? After all, there is a row selected. To fool the compiler into thinking the data grid view control had been clicked, I added this code to the form's shown event handler, and then it shows that code. As mentioned, I added the code above to the form shown event handler. This event fires after the form's load event. If you look at the form's events page in the properties pane, you will see that there are many events you can write code for. To see them, click on the form away from the panels and what's on them, and click the lightning icon in the properties pane in the southeast corner of Visual Studio. This is just a few of them, and it shows a screenshot of many form events. As you can see in that screenshot, there are many events you can write code in response to, and there's a tip at the bottom that informs you when the selected event fires. But back to the code for the shown event handler. When the contents of a cell are clicked, the specific cell is noted, the row and the column. We assign the row and column we want the app to think is clicked in the assignment to the args variable, telling it that it was the cell at the juncture of the state column, column 1, and the Alaska row, row 0, first row. We then call the event handler by name, passing it the data grid view that was supposedly clicked, data grid view 1, our data grid view control, and the args, which we just populated with the cell that was supposedly clicked. That causes the event handler to be fired, even though the cell was not really clicked, thus populating the controls at the bottom of the form. We could, of course, change it to highlight some other row first, say the Montana row, like so, and then it shows that same code but altered slightly to use the Montana row instead of the Alaska row. And then the form would display like this on startup after the form shown event handler fires, which happens so quickly that we don't see any change occurring. We just see Montana from the get-go. And then it shows a screenshot of that. Now, let's look at the get combined rank value rank method, which is called by the event handler that fires when a cell in the data grid view is clicked. After that, we will examine the code attached to the picture boxes click event handler, which causes the URL for the book shown in the image to display in your browser. In other words, it opens that page. So here is the get combined rank value rank method, which is called by the data grid view when one of its cells is clicked. And it shows that code in the newsletter. The SQL shown above is another query using a select statement, whose related command object calls execute scalar, which means only one piece of data is returned from the query, rather than an entire row or multiple rows. In this case, an integer value is returned. What the query is asking for in plainer English is, give me the number of states with a lower value than that of the current state. The current state's combined rank value is passed to the get combined rank value rank method via the combined rank value argument or parameter. For example, for Missouri, the value of the combined rank value argument is 60. So it's asking how many states have a combined rank value of less than 60. In other words, how many states are above it in combined rank. So it's really asking, which rank does this combined rank value have? It's ranking the combined rank. Note that the value returned has to be converted to an int32 for it to work. The value is then concatenated, combined, with the combined rank value to give some context to just what that value means. The user may wonder, is 60 good or bad or mediocre? And then it shows a screenshot of that. Those two values combined or concatenated. So we see that 60 is pretty good. Missouri is number 12 in the top quarter of all states in overall score. Note, the word mediocre is used above. This is an oft misunderstood word. It is not synonymous with poor or crummy or such like pejoratives. It really basically means average. After all, the word mediocre is related to the word medium, which can be thought of as being in the middle. We are probably all mediocre at several things, but that's not a bad thing. We're in good company, a large company, the majority of people, when we are mediocre in the literal meaning of the word, as opposed to the popular perceived meaning of the word. Programmatically opening the browser. There is one more bit of code to look at. How to open the browser to a specific page. We want the user to be able to click the image in the picture box control and have the Amazon page for that book to open in a browser window for them. Sound complicated? Complex? Convoluted? Do you think it will take a bunch of mind-bending code to accomplish this amazing feat? Actually, no. It's pretty simple. See for yourself. And it shows the code, the event handler for the picture box's click event. It's one line of code. System.diagnostics.process.start, and then the argument passed is current book URL. One line of code. But wait, where does this current book URL variable come from? We've seen it before. It is declared at the start of the form's code, and that is shown again with that particular line of code bolded, and assigned when a cell in the data grid view is clicked. And it shows a bit of that code too, a snippet from that code where that is happening. The current book URL value is being assigned based on one of the columns in the row that was clicked. So we assign the value of the current book's URL when the row is clicked and hold that string value in readiness, just in case the user clicks the image displayed in the picture box control. This is what opens in the browser if the user clicks the Pennsylvania image. And it shows a screenshot of the page on Amazon where the Pennsylvania book is shown and made available for purchase. This is a rather short step, but the next thing to show you is how to allow the user to update the states table, specifically the have resided there, have visited, and notes columns. And if we started in on that now, we would have to break off in the middle of it, so I am leaving that until the next step. So, until then. No. Oh, but wait. An odd word to a normal person, that is to say a non-programmer, was used above, namely concatenate. This is one of those words that is used a lot in programming. It simply means added together or combined, but not in the mathematical sense. For example, 60 concatenated with 12 is not 72, but rather what you see in the screenshot above, showing Missouri as the current state, the string 60 followed by the string 12. Every discipline has its own characteristic jargon, and programming is no exception there. Concatenate is just one of those words which you will see and hear quite often if you continue your involvement with programming. All right, I mean it this time. See you in the next step.